Good morning and welcome back to week 2 of the XD Daily Challenge. We're on challenge number 4 and just wanted to take a minute and say hi to everybody. Oh, hey Gus, Michael, both of you guys are in the room. Mahul, nice to see you. Rajan, thanks for joining us. Sandhya, Lucian, Siobhan, I'm recognizing a lot of names, so it looks like everybody's sticking with the challenge, which is awesome. Hi Anna. Cool. So again, for those of you that are just tuning in, I'll go over a couple of the particulars and how to get ready and how to get prepared and signed up for the XD challenge. For those of you, hey Jake, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your work in the Slack channel. And then for those of you that have been with us all week, really curious to hear how the challenge is going for you. Make sure to drop a comment or a note. Let us know how you feel you've progressed. Let us know maybe how much time you're spending on the daily challenge each day, just to get an idea of how you're spending your, your focused energy on completing the challenge. We've had a lot of really wonderful submissions. It's been great to see everybody's work grow over the past 3 to 4 sessions. So I'll just go over a couple particulars just to get everybody signed up, and that way we can make sure everybody has access to the XD challenge. So I've got the landing page pulled up on my laptop right here. If you'd like to register and you'd like to receive an email in your inbox to receive the prompts every day and to follow along with us on the XD challenge, all you need to do is enter your name and email and go ahead and get started. There is a video below that covers a little bit more detail and just lets you know how to participate. So go ahead and sign up there. That email will show up in your inbox every morning. We can also let you know or be notified through the Slack channel. So we have a Slack link, which in case anybody wants to receive further feedback and basically share their designs, share their progress work. We've got a team of Adobe people that are kind of helping support and providing critique, and also the community is taking part, which is really incredible just to see how everybody else can kind of share their work, but also share their feedback with others. So make sure to be active in the channel. We've got announcements, which is where we'll show the prompt. As everybody is submitting the work, what you'll see each day is basically an aggregate of all the submissions coming in and showing up in one spot. So this is the hashtag for the XD Daily Challenge, and this is how we're able to surface everyone's work. Each video and each session will take some time, and we'll pull out some people's works and talk about them, and basically just provide some nice critique, also some support, and help people kind of push their work. So we can take a little bit of time to do that this morning. So one of the first submissions that I have is from Gary. We talked about Gary in our during our weather app. Gary was actually doing some YouTube videos and helping kind of create the more support around the daily challenge, which was awesome. So Gary has a YouTube video, you can check it out. Gary submitted these designs for the weather app, which is what prompt number 3 was for a smartwatch. So we got a really nice After Effects looks like animation that's happening, and then Gary's able to pull up some of the primary screens that are going to show up. So this is overall compositionally, this is a really nice way just to represent the work, which is in situ, and so you're showing it on a device. It really helps just to focus, the context of where this is actually going to be showing up. Really like the spot color, the nice bright purple, the white. Really good use of the constraints that are provided on a smartwatch as well, right? So really dark screen, really high contrast colors, which is really going to help save battery life. So awesome submission, Gary. Thanks so much. We've got one more. So this is a submission from Katri. So this is challenge number 3 again. This is the weather app for the smartwatch. So there's a kind of like it looks like a splash screen, or a here and there is potentially the name of the app. And then we're showing the interface for the weather. So let's see, we got some, so it looks like 24 degrees Celsius. We've got the destination and location. Looks like there's some wind parameter, also potential humidity. And I'm guessing that maybe between the Tuesday and Sunday, that would also imply that maybe there's some swipeability interaction there, how you can navigate. Overall, really nice take and iteration on the design. Some things to be mindful of. I'm actually not sure. This looks like kind of a 360 dial that you would see on kind of an Android device, and then it looks like it's placed on an Apple Watch. So there's a little bit of confusion there, but I like the way that you're focusing in on the content. And just be mindful that with the images placed on the device and the use of brightness, those tend to wear a little bit on the battery usage for smartphones. So just be wary about adding photos. Also, most apps for the Apple Watch have a limited amount of storage. So adding a lot of rich content can actually help, or can actually deter from being able to build the app, because you're adding additional data. So just be mindful of those things. Oh, we'll appreciate it. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your work. So I pulled this one up just because it wasn't an Apple Watch, which is great, and it's always nice to see people just thinking outside in other platforms. So this is from Rushi. So it looks like we've got a nice composition, just going in and throwing some nice color blocks behind the device, and then keeping the color value in the device also, which is a really nice way to just frame the content. Thematically, it really looks very well organized. And it looks like we're showing a few variations of weather. Got some really nice usage of icons in the foreground and background. I like kind of the solar flare that's being emphasized out of the sun. And it looks like you can cycle through different themes, so maybe there's different color choices that you can have. So really nice submission, Rishi. There's a lot of iterations here, so I guess my only bit of feedback to you is which one was your favorite and which one would you like us to focus on. So really nice submissions. Thank you. And this one is from Alpa. So we've got smartwatch, looks like for an Apple device. Really nice use of the constraints. It doesn't mean that all the text and all the colors have to be black and white, but really nice way just to adhere to the guidelines that are provided by the Apple Watch. I like the additional text of the "too hot outside." Also, it looks like we're pulling in some of the content maybe in the background, which is a nice blur effect. So overall, I really enjoy this project. It's nice to see some other examples and potential use cases of maybe how you can use the software. Really good use of exploration. Maybe we're looking at 3 different versions here, or we could be looking at different ways to go deeper into the app. I would be mindful of some of the smaller fonts. Some of these things can get really, really tiny on a device. So just be mindful of that, Alpa, for next time. Maybe you don't even need this. You know, maybe the icons can be sufficient enough and you can scale up the icons and you don't need the additional text here. But I'll leave that up to you. It's a really nice submission. And this one is from Arshad. He called it Shadow Sky. So Arshad's showing a black and white version of a real-time weather of your location by simply opening the app. So maybe this is the default screen that you see. View detail, view weekly, precipitation. Really nice composition, Arshad, just to show kind of the primary, secondary, and tertiary elements. I like the ability to navigate throughout the rest of the forecast. Nice use of icons. Everything is really nice and uniform. You can look at kind of the scale of the font as well as the line weight for all the icons, as well as the line weight on the chevrons or the next icons. So really nice use of consistency. And let's take some time to look at one more. So this is from Rajan. Rajan's excited about having his work featured. Rajan, thanks for sharing. So this is your personal smartwatch weather app. So we're showing Kathmandu, different potential icons or use cases that could show up for the weather app. So we've got the loading page, the main page on swipe up, and the statistics page, speed page. That sounds interesting, and then warning. So Rajan, I'd really, I'm curious. I really like to see the breadth and the lengths that you're going here through all the examples. I'm really curious, what maybe the speed page entails. Maybe that's the wind. So maybe we could add some secondary text there that could help describe what exactly the speed is. For the main page on the swipe up, this is a really good use or an opportunity to use the background blur. So if you're swiping and you're pulling up that action sheet that comes up over the smartwatch, you can take the main page content and blur that in the background, and it'll add a nice atmosphere or like a secondary read to what's happening in the background. For the 86% probability of raining after 15 minutes, I like the use of communicating to the customer or user and telling them what are the chances of rain. The red color definitely makes me feel like I did something wrong, and the alert icon makes me feel like I did something wrong. So maybe worth an iteration, or maybe a way to find, to what severity is the rain to the customer. And maybe you could think of another icon that you could put in there, something that's different contextually. So really nice submission. Thanks for definitely showing more screens and walking us through your process. Awesome. Well, that's great. So we've gone through a couple examples. We'll now get into today's daily challenge, which is focused on a freelance website. I pulled up a couple examples, and I wanted to just kind of walk through some freelance experiences just to show a variety. We will be focused primarily on the UX and UI of a freelance website, but that doesn't mean that the work has to be necessarily focused on just UX and UI. So I pulled in some photography, I pulled in an Illustrator, and I just wanted to show a little bit of variety just to see how other people maybe organize their work, and also just to inspire some other versions of work. So I'm sure some of you are familiar with this photographer, Chris Burkard. I think he was featured on Apple a couple times. But he's a famous landscape and adventure photographer. He also does a lot of media. And so I wanted to pull up his website just to show what rich photography could look like for a freelancer. So in this case, they're really focused on the content, and they're really focused on large format imagery to really help advertise and share and display what their work looks like. So in this case, the primary focus should be on the photographs. So we can look at a few examples. This is something that could absolutely be modeled up in XD with kind of putting in your three main content areas and then being able to click into the prototypes. So we can look at a couple examples. This would be kind of step 2. We've got a really nice grid, great opportunity to use repeat grid in XD and to maybe show a series of swatches for different basically photographs that are going to be showing up in here. I'm curious if I scroll down if there's any form of pagination. Nope, just looks like we kind of hit the end of the adventure photos. So really good use of space. The aspect ratios for the photos basically are relative to the grid. So we're seeing vertical format imagery, we're seeing horizontal, we're seeing some wide format photos. So really nice. Really good use of grid. Really good use of padding and white spacing in between each of the photographs. And that's Chris Burkard. This is Brad Burke. Brad Burke is a freelancer based out of Los Angeles. So really simple, clean website, good use of white space, has a nice header. One of the things that we'll talk about with designing for a freelancer website are what are the main pieces of that, or what are the main components of that website. And it definitely comes back to the work. It comes back to maybe a little bit more information around your background or maybe your experience. And then most importantly is how to get in contact with you, right? Because as a freelance or as a freelancer, you definitely want to get reached out and you want to get customer inquiries. So you want to make sure you can get in contact with. So we'll scroll down We've got some nice examples of branding, some redesigns, looks like some advertisements. We can click into here. This looks like a case study for a mobile experience. So really nice use of full bleed imagery, nice downward caret that will kind of navigate you down through the page. Focusing on the content front and center. And then some other more additional content, which was potentially who was the client, maybe the duration of the project and how long it took. And then some nice examples of the work. And it looks like it's being shown on multiple devices. And this is another take on a creative freelance website. So this is for Ash Hong. So really nice because she's showing not just her primary focus, which is maybe UX or UI or illustrative work, but showing other areas of focus that she's into. So we've got portraits, we've got books, also some photography. If you scroll down, you can get some exposure to client work. Really nice composition showing the kind of like either the client work in context or showing it nice and front and center so you can get an idea of what you're actually clicking into. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with Ash. She's a designer here. And then the last example that I'll cover is over in Illustrator. This is Sean Galloway. And this is his basically freelance store. And so products, contact, and cart. So again, kind of focusing on the work, the experience, and then how to contact you. In this case, he's also selling some of these items. And then again, we're seeing a large visual of a grid displaying various thumbnails. Okay, cool. So let's pop over into XD. We've got a few minutes remaining. I can also recap just a little bit to show kind of where we came from last week with our first initial prompt. So what we covered in challenge number 1 was a splash screen. So showing the loading screen that's basically going to show up prior to or after you launch the app and prior to getting into the product. We spent a little bit of time doing a activity tracker. And you know, the format with these challenges is every day we come in with a few examples and we try to use those as reference points or guidance to help shape and inform our work as we go through this process. So this was an activity tracker for Mars. And then challenge number 3, we focused on a movie ticket purchase flow. We had a lot of really, really great submissions. A lot of people went well into the purchase flow and showed a lot of detail. Also added a lot of additional detail, which is definitely going to influence my work. So we showed kind of the gallery image for Deadpool, getting into the detail view and showing the synopsis as well as the actors and available times, and then eventually going all the way up into seat selection. And then on Friday, we capped it off with a weather app, and we tried to show 3 screens and how this weather app would prompt you with a notification. And then as you receive the notification of the local weather, you can tap in and see a little bit more information about maybe what's happening. And then we started adding some micro copy that can maybe instead of focusing on the icons or the overall numbers of the weather, you could just say it looks like rain. Losing my voice. Sorry about all the coughing. All right, so I've got a few examples up. I'm leaving the .coms here just in case you want to look at these sites yourself. So one is from Pablo Stanley, who's been a guest on Adobe Live. We'll full screen this. So really nice, clean, great use of white space. You know, starting out with kind of a nice introduction and just kind of saying hi and thanks for being here is a really nice way to land into someone's freelance page. Pablo isn't a freelancer, but I think that this website could definitely serve as inspiration for freelance. And then what he's doing is he's linking out to his current focus, as well as ways to view his work and other ways that he kind of shares in the community. This is an example from Jared Arandu, who at some point did spend a lot of time being a freelance artist. Thank you, Paco. So currently showing his focus areas and what he's working on, and then previous work experience. Obviously within any of these, you'd be able to link out to the text and see his work. And this is another local designer, Frederick. And Frederick is a local San Francisco designer who's currently working at Udacity. Really nice theme. It's called a la Fritz, and so he's kind of using a French menu of kind of like the a la carte and ways to just, I guess, have a little bit of fun with his portfolio. Able to link out to all of his experience. Fritz is a good friend of mine, very talented, and great person to work with. So there's a couple more examples which I shared up here. And then as we covered, the important info for a freelance website is how to get into contact with you, your experience, and your work, as well as any additional info and background. So I'll start out just by getting us a grid. We're using the 1920 artboard. And I'm going to put a grid together. Grid's a really good way to not only for you to think about how to organize your screen and your content, but also maybe in which content areas you want to prioritize, either text or large images. But grids are just a good way for you foundationally just to think about how to frame your work and to make sure that you're considering all the device and screen sizes. So we're going to do a 40 pixel grid here. So let's make this a nice bright color. And so that's 40 pixels. We'll put 40 pixel padding on the inside. So that stretches really nicely to the overall screen size.
Can I show you something?
Sure. Oh, there's also a grid in the UI kit?
Yeah.
Go ahead, let's do it. Welcome, Michael, everybody.
It's a feature we introduced a few weeks back.
Oh, hey. Magic. I love the intro exit music. And you gave me the opportunity to have a sip of my coffee. So let's do 40. I don't know what the number of columns are, but let's do 40. We can bump up. Do 12 column grid. So we can still use that, but I'm going to go back to my grid that I'm drawing. Just because I wanted to show the spacing. All right, 40. Do 40. Got that. We'll reduce the opacity. Sometimes I still like doing things the hard way. Well, also, I like to put a big block, which is the 960. 960 is kind of a default dimension. I think that you, for the most part, when you think of screen sizes down to a 13-inch all the way up to a 15-inch MacBook and various other screens, it's definitely a good default dimension to start with because it ensures that your content will at least be center on the majority of devices. We got about 5 minutes left. So let's see what we can do in that amount of time. So the 960, this means this is where our main content area is going to view. And you can see it, in this case, Jared's using probably a fully responsive or fluid grid. So everything's going to stretch to the aspect ratio of the site. Fritz is probably using something similar to what we're doing here, which is just to ensure that the content is always framed within a 960. And Pablo has something a little bit similar, maybe outside of the 960 grid. Okay, so we set up a little bit of our working area. I'm going to lock these real quick just so I can work over them. we can start with a header, and I'll just be blocking these in. I won't be putting any content in today. I'd like to just think about the areas of content. So we can add a header. In this case, we can do a logo up here. Let's see, 32. And then what were the three things? Your work, about, and maybe contact. Space those out using repeat grid. Okay, so we're starting to get an idea. We could definitely reduce this font sizes just to something a little bit more, maybe tighter. So a nice big logo. So we can have 3 links that will link out either to more of your work, an example grid, maybe a content view that can go over kind of more information about yourself. Sometimes you can see a little bit of a biography. Sometimes you can see, you know, what it is that inspires you or how you got into design. It can really vary, but what it does is it adds a nice lens into maybe a little bit more information that people wouldn't get out of just viewing your work. And then a way to contact, and this can be a call to action. It can directly open an email form. You could also add your phone number on here, which is a really nice way to just ensure that people can reach out to you directly. And you can start to think about let's do 260. So here maybe we can imply some work. We could add some blocks of text down here. Let's see if I can grab something. Nope. That's not what I wanted. This always happens. Okay, well, let's just put in some text down here. And so maybe at the top we want to use a full bleed image. This could be a good opportunity to kind of if you have a nice landscape or if there's an image, some photography that really inspires you. We could use this area as like a full bleed image that can stretch and expand, but also if we decide to explore this in a smaller responsive screen, it'll kind of frame within that. And maybe we can think about dropping in a profile photo up here. Let's see, do 320. So maybe this can be the profile photo avatar. We can probably float some text over the background image. We can put a nice, you know, intro text here. So I know that we don't have any video or images in here. I know that we haven't gone in any rich. What I wanted to do was at least provide, you know, just an example of how quickly we could go through the potential areas of content and how you can kind of organize this work. We didn't necessarily take any of the inspiration from any of these other websites other than maybe the use of white space. But, you know, fairly shortly we can put something together. We can start to put this in a clickable prototype. We can think about other areas to maybe display our work. And, you know, at this point, in the same way when we did the Deadpool 2 or the movie ticket demo, we could drag in rich photography in here and everything will start to come together really, really quickly just by adding in some avatars and just by adding in some examples of work. So I'm really curious to see what everyone in the community comes up with. I'm really excited just to see how everybody takes different approaches and different ways of approaching freelance websites. Maybe if you feel encouraged, you can also think about what this would look like in a responsive format, if it would scale down to smaller screens. Definitely bonus points for that. I think by us implying a 3-grid here, we could definitely assume that that would probably go into a single column layout. The avatar would definitely scale nicely within a smaller screen like a mobile screen, and then we could crop and move all of the navigation elements into the header element as well. So really excited to see how everyone's work comes up. I do, out of the interest of just kind of completing the rest of the flow, I want to show everyone how we would basically, this is so funny. Can't get out of my window. Let's see, Command Escape, boom. All right, so let's go ahead and export this. Selected. And this will go in our Adobe Challenge folder. So this is for freelance website. Export. And then what we'll do is we'll come over to Behance. We'll go to our profile, go into the daily challenge, we'll go into Edit Project. And then if you come over here to the Upload Files, this is where we'll basically add in our new example that we just added today. So when you do add this into the project, make sure that you go over to the settings. Make sure that you're entering it in the UI UX field if you're just doing this for the first time today. And make sure you're adding the tag for XD Daily Challenge. That's going to be how all of your work shows up in kind of the most recent projects board here. And it's going to be a great way for us to discover any of your work. As you progress for this throughout the day, make sure to drop this in Slack. Make sure to share us your iterations, some of the processes you've gone over, or if you just want to share where your current design is at. We'd love to provide feedback, so make sure to contribute into the Slack channel. And there's an area called Design Feedback where you can submit those designs. We're really looking forward to seeing everybody take part in today's challenge. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I'm really excited to see the output. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.